Hello everyone and welcome to your Spanish course, Learning Spanish from Zero. My name is Domingo and in today's video we are going to examine a number of different ways to say how are you in Spanish. Let's begin. At the end of this video you will be able to do the following. Learn to say how are you in a variety of ways. Learn to answer in a positive or negative manner to the question how are you? Master the use of each expression in the right context. Al final de este video será capaz de hacer lo siguiente: aprender a decir cómo estás en diferentes maneras, aprender a contestar de manera positiva o negativa a la pregunta ¿cómo estás? Y finalmente dominar el uso de cada expresión en su contexto adecuado. The most common way to say how are you in Spanish is ¿cómo estás? However, there are many other ways you can ask similar questions to find out how someone is doing. Beyond that, there are many ways to answer when someone asks you to this question. La manera más común para decir ¿cómo estás? Es how are you. Sin embargo, en el español existen muchas otras maneras en las que puedes hacer preguntas similares para averiguar cómo alguien se siente. Más allá de eso, hay muchas formas para contestar cuando alguien te hace esta pregunta. And we are going to start right away with our first question, how are you? Which is the most basic way to say how are you. This phrase is appropriate in almost any context when talking to almost any person, such as friends, young people, children, people you know well, or when you feel you shouldn't treat someone too casually. If you notice below, we have ¿cómo estás? And between parentheses tú. It means that it's up to you to use tú. So you can say ¿cómo estás? Or ¿cómo estás tú? It is okay to use it. The second question is, which has the same meaning, ¿cómo está usted? Or ¿cómo está? This question is formal. And it means the same thing as the first one, and it will convey the same level of respect. If we want to answer to this question, we would say, first in English, I'm fine, thanks, which is a positive answer. Or if you want to answer negatively, you would say, I'm not very good. In Spanish, the answer to this question is, estoy bien, gracias, la cual es positiva. No estoy muy bien, de hecho. I'm not very good, actually, which means this is a negative answer. We've learned so far that there are two meanings for the question, how are you? Which are in Spanish, ¿cómo estás? Or ¿cómo está usted? Now, the third meaning is, ¿cómo están? Or ¿cómo están ustedes? ¿Cómo están? Or ¿cómo están ustedes? Ask this question if you're greeting multiple people. If you woke up to a group of people and want to greet all of them, you might ask, ¿cómo están? The verb is conjugated for the plural you, so this is similar to saying, how are you all doing? Or how are you guys doing in English? Now let's read the answer to this question. How are you? We're pretty well, thank you. We're not pretty good. ¿Cómo están ustedes? ¿Cómo están? Estamos muy bien, gracias. No estamos muy bien. There are informal ways to say how are you in Spanish, such as ¿qué pasa? What's happening? Or ¿qué tal? What's up? They're appropriate in casual social situations or when talking to people around your own age who you know fairly well, so you should only use them in relatively informal situations with people you know or people who are your age or younger. Let's make a little review of the following questions. What's up? ¿Qué tal? The answer to this question is good, thanks, bien, gracias. What's happening? ¿Qué pasa? Todo bien. Everything's good. Nada. Nothing. Lo normal. Normal. And we have a couple of synonyms below the first two questions. ¿Cómo va? ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué haces? Remember that it's almost the same. What's up? What are you doing? How are you doing? The translation is like that, more or less. And the answer could be, aquí estudiando para el examen. Here, studying for the test. Remember that I've been telling you that the question what's up means ¿qué tal? ¿Qué tal? Technically it means something like what is your current state? Someone might also ask you ¿qué tal todo? Or ¿qué tal va todo? These are some variants of the question ¿qué tal? Sometimes when someone asks you this question, it's not about you, it's about your life. And if you notice, the answer to this question, todo va muy bien. Why? Because you are talking generally about your life. This simple phrase is widely used in all Spanish-speaking countries, and it can be used in both formal and informal contexts. Now I'm gonna read the questions that we have right there on the screen. What's up? I'm fine. So in English, of course, you can say I'm fine. Everything's good. But in Spanish, ¿qué tal todo? Todo va muy bien. But notice now the following questions. ¿Qué tal va todo? Which is similar to the previous question. ¿Qué tal todo? ¿Qué tal? If you are referring to the pronoun you formally. ¿Qué tal estás? If you are referring to the pronoun you informally. ¿Qué tal están ustedes? If you are asking this question to multiple people. Remember that this is a personal question where you can answer I'm fine, I'm okay, so far so good. So it is different to the previous one, ¿qué tal todo? Which is a general answer about your life. What's new? What can you tell me? Are catchphrases to start a talk or simply to greet someone. In Spanish, you can ask, ¿qué me cuentas? ¿Qué cuentas? ¿Qué te cuentas? These questions are asked especially if you are going to gossip about someone or about something. For instance, you can say, ¿qué me cuentas de Rosa? What can you tell me about Rosa? Maybe you don't talk to her and you want to get some information about her. Now, let's focus on the answers to the questions. What's new and what can you tell me in Spanish? ¿Qué me cuentas? ¿Qué cuentas? ¿Qué te cuentas? The answers to this question, ¿qué me cuentas? ¿Qué cuentas or qué te cuentas? Are No mucho, la verdad. Nothing much, to be honest. Ahora mismo, sin novedad. Right now, nothing much. Nada, nothing. Nada en especial. Nothing special. ¿Cómo te va? ¿Cómo vas? It's not the literal translation of how are you. A more accurate translation of this expression could be how's it going? Try to remember that ¿cómo te va? Is more informal than ¿cómo estás? I mean, how are you? You can use this question to ask the person how they're doing, but you can also use it to ask about something more specific, like related to your job or something else. ¿Cómo va la empresa? How is the company doing? And if I want to ask you directly, I would say, ¿Cómo te va? How are you doing? And that's it. Now, let's read out the answers to the question, how's it going? Or how are you in Spanish. ¿Cómo vas? You can simply answer, me va muy bien. I'm doing well. No me va muy bien. I'm not doing well. Más o menos. So. Something I didn't tell you before is that also someone in Spanish can ask you, ¿Cómo te va a ti? Or, ¿Cómo a ti te va? The answers to these two questions are genial, great, no muy bien realmente, not very good actually. How are things going? The translation to this question is ¿Cómo están las cosas? ¿Cómo van las cosas? There is no need for conjugation here, since the verb van, they go, refers to the noun las cosas, the things. When somebody asks you this question, you can simply answer bien, good, or mal, bad. Most of the time, when someone asks you something, you can answer with the same question. For instance, if I ask you, ¿Cómo van las cosas? You can answer, Las cosas van bien. Everything is going okay. Now, let's read out the answers to the question, how are things going in Spanish? ¿Cómo están las cosas? ¿Cómo van las cosas? Bien, mal, todo está bien, gracias. How are you doing? ¿Cómo te está yendo? An answer to this question could be Me está yendo bien. I'm doing well. But remember that you have other alternatives to use, like you can answer bien, mal, etc. Now, let's focus on the questions we have on the screen. How are you doing? I'm doing well so far. Not very good to say. In Spanish, ¿Cómo te está yendo? Which is casual. And ¿Cómo le está yendo? Which is formal. The answers to these questions are Por el momento me está yendo bien. No me está yendo muy bien, que digamos. If you notice that someone is angry, sad, or is showing any other kind of feelings, you can ask the following questions. In English, you can ask, what's happening? What's wrong? And the person is going to answer, I have a headache. Or perhaps, I lost my job. The translation to this part in Spanish is, ¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué ocurre? What's happening is, ¿qué pasa? What's wrong is, ¿qué ocurre? And the answers to this question could be, tengo un dolor de cabeza. Perdí mi trabajo. What's the matter? It's another synonym for the question what's wrong or what's happening that can be translated as ¿qué pasa? ¿Te sucede algo? ¿Te ocurre algo? Most of the time we ask this kind of question when we see that someone doesn't feel well, looks sad, or looks angry. So we want to be empathetic. Now let's listen to the answers to the question what's the matter? The person here is saying I broke up with Peter, so the relationship end up. In Spanish, the translation is terminé con Pedro. What? The relationship. ¿Cómo ha estado? ¿Cómo has estado? Those questions can be translated in English as how have you been? And we can answer this question like he estado fantástico. I've been fantastic. No he estado bien últimamente. I haven't been well lately. In Spanish, we have another way to the question, how have you been? Which is, ¿cómo te ha ido? ¿Cómo le ha ido? You know that when we ask, ¿cómo le ha ido? It is because it's more formal. And the answer is, me ha ido muy bien, gracias a Dios. I've been good, thanks God. How do you feel? ¿Cómo te sientes? Use ¿cómo te sientes? To ask someone how they feel. This question is typically more appropriate if you know someone hasn't been feeling well lately. However, if you're not familiar with this person, you might instead ask, ¿cómo se siente? It's the same question, but using a more formal pronoun. And we can answer those questions like, for example, in English, how do you feel? I feel awesome, thank you. In Spanish, we can answer, ¿cómo se siente? Or, ¿cómo te sientes? Bien, which is good. Me siento bien, gracias. I feel okay, thank you. Remember that it's polite to say thank you after someone asks you in Spanish, ¿cómo te sientes? Más o menos. So. Me siento un poco mejor. I feel a little better. Me siento asombroso. I feel awesome. And those are the ways you can use to answers to the question, ¿Cómo te sientes? Or ¿Cómo se siente? You came in here wondering how to say how are you in Spanish. However, if you want to sound more like a local, you must use the expression ¿Todo bien? ¿Is everything alright? Or ¿Está todo bien? The answers to these questions are: Is everything alright? Everything's good, thanks. ¿Todo bien? Todo bien, gracias. ¿Está todo bien? Sí, todo está bien. Remember that when someone asks you with a specific questions, you must take those keywords and you can answer using those keywords like ¿Todo bien? Yes, todo bien. Or I mean sí, todo bien. How's life treating you? ¿Cómo te trata la vida? Or ¿Cómo le trata la vida? Is a question that you might ask to someone you know really well. And the answer, of course, to this question is you can simply say bien or mal. And if you don't have any problem in your life, you can say in Spanish, no me puedo quejar. I can't complain. Our last question in this video is, what's going on with your life? This is a question you ask when you haven't seen a person for a long period of time and actually want to know what they've been up to. We can translate it as, what's going on with your life? And the answer to this question in Spanish is, first, the question is, ¿qué es de tu vida? ¿Cómo te trata la vida? And you can answer, bueno, he estado viajando alrededor del mundo. Well, I've been traveling around the world. To finish, we've seen that there are many ways to say, how are you in Spanish? Some of them perhaps new for you. We were also able to learn how to answer in a positive or negative way to those questions. And last but not least, you also could learn how to use those questions and their answers in the proper situations.